In this lesson, we'll conclude a review of Math Test 8, Section 4, Calculator Permitted, questions 37 and 38, the final two grid-ins. And these are paired questions. There are two questions relating to this information. So let's take a look. When a patient receives a penicillin injection, kidneys begin removing the penicillin from the body. The table and the graph above show the penicillin concentration in a patient's bloodstream at 5-minute intervals for the 20 minutes immediately following a one-time penicillin injection. If we look at the table, starts out initially the patient would receive 200 milligrams of penicillin. 5-minute intervals, the kidneys start removing, and these are the amounts. You see, this is not a linear function. It's exponential. It's decay as the penicillin is removed, and here is the function. All right, so on the next page, we're going to take a look at the questions, and then we'll return back to the graph. According to the table, how many more micrograms of penicillin are present in 10 milliliters of blood drawn from the patient 5 minutes after the injection than are present in 8 milliliters of blood drawn 10 minutes? So we're comparing 5 and 10, but notice we're comparing 10 milliliters of blood, that's at 5, and 8 milliliters of 10. So I'm going to scroll back up. We've got 10 and 8 at 5 and 10. All right. Okay, here we are. All right, so 5 and 10. But remember, this is penicillin concentration per single milliliter. And the question said, are present in 10 milliliters drawn 5 minutes. So this is per 1, right? So to get for 10, we have to multiply this by 10. So that 152 multiplied by 10 is going to be 1520. I'll just write it here, 1520. Just have to read this carefully. Now, 10 minutes after, we want to see an 8 milliliters. And so again, this is per 1, so we have to multiply this one by 8. And I'd use your calculator for this. So here we have 118 times 8, and that'll give us the amount 944. All right, and so we just have now to subtract these. So 1520, you could just use your calculator again for this one so you don't make a mistake. So 1520 minus 944, the answer is 576. That's what you would grid in for number 37. All right, let's take a look at number 38. The penicillin concentration in micrograms per milliliter in the patient's bloodstream T minutes after the penicillin injection is modeled by the function P defined. Here's the function. If P approximates the values in the table to within 10 micrograms per milliliter, what is the value of B rounded to the nearest tenth? So we have this function, and we want to solve to see what the value of B would be to the nearest. Here's the B to the nearest 10. So when you have a question like this, I'm going to go back up and then just copy it so I don't have to scroll back and forth. But when you have a question like this, you always, it could even be a linear function, but what you want to do is you would test values and then solve to get the answer. So the function is given, I'm just going to write it up here, P of T equals 200 B T over 5. And we want to solve for B, and it's modeled T minutes after. Remember, the 0 is the starting. That's not going to really help us because we want T minutes after, and also we're going to get, if you plug it in here, you'd get to the 0, and that would be B to the 0, which is 1, and 200 equals 200. We need after the fact. And so what I mean by that is, well, here is 5 minutes after. We know that the answer is 152, right? So 152. Okay, we're plugging in to check based on the table, and then we can solve for B, equals 200 times B. This is 5 minutes after, and so we really get here, if we plug in 5 there, we just get B to the first, right? B, and so all we have to do here now is just solve, and we can get B, and we're going to take 152 and divide it by 200. That's how we solve it. And so let's just check that. So we now get 152 divided by 200. This will give us B 0.76. Okay. Let's do it one more time. And again, this question, if you read it, it's asking to the nearest tenth. We had this in an earlier question in the grid-in. To the nearest tenth is that first unit to the right. So in this case, we would round up, the answer would be 0.8. Let's just do it one more time to confirm. But it looks like 0.8 is the answer. So again, I have the function, or the function here. Remember, we did 152. Let's do it now with t is 10, and we know it's 118. So it's 118 equals, I still have that 200, and times b, and it's t to the fifth. But remember, in the last one, t over 5. In the last one, t was 5 and we had 1. But in this case, our t now is 10. And so we're going to end up with b squared equals 118, equals 200. All right, and so here's our equation. Again, we did before, we got 0.76. Let's just confirm it. So now we're going to take 118. We're going to divide it by 200. And we get 0.59 equals b squared. And the last step is we're going to take the square root of both sides. We're just going to square that. And look, we get 0.7, looks like 0.77. So in both cases, right, when we round to the nearest tenth, we're going to get 0.8, and that is indeed the answer.